You're listening to the Shaun of the South podcast, brought to you by Food City, dedicated to providing you, their valued customer, with top quality products at the best value every day. From certified Angus beef to locally grown produce and in-store made baked goods, nobody does food like Food City. Find a store conveniently located near you at foodcity.com. Well, today I have something I kind of want to talk about that is one of those things that I don't, if you'll care about it or not, but it matters to me because this has been a pivotal year for me. I am now the age my father was not. Let me say that again. I am the age that my father never got to see. My dad died shortly after his 41st birthday. And I just turned 42. Now, I know that's a baby to a lot of people, and to other people listening to this, that's probably an older than dirt guy. But to me, it's an age that has always existed in my head as a number that I did not expect to see. For some reason, when you're a young man, you have this thing in your head that identifies with your father's or your parents' age. And if you've lost a parent at a young age, it changes your spectral timeline. The history of your parents is sort of embedded within your consciousness, and you're not sure whether or not you're going to make it to the age that they made it to. I hear this all the time talking to people who've lost parents. It's a huge thing. Someone will have lost a parent when they were in their 20s and their dad was only like 55, and they'll say, if I can just make it to 55. Or someone will say, yeah, my mom lived till she was 81, and if I could just make it past 81. Well, my age was 42, which I made it to this year, and I did not expect it to be so groundbreaking for me. I kind of thought, yeah, it'd be a big deal, and then the next day, I'd get over it and I'd just be this guy, I might be 42, but I've got the body of a 41-year-old. It wasn't like that. What really happened was I had this crash, and it probably was in part to, I was writing a eulogy for a friend of mine who passed away and the eulogy for a cousin of mine who had passed away on my birthday. So that was quite an awakening. And I believe, actually, looking back now, it was a gift. This is incredibly weird to be feeling like you live on borrowed time. But that's exactly how I feel. I feel as though I am not supposed to be here. And so I wrote about it, talking about my father's death and about who my father was and all that. And I got an enormous response from people who have also lost loved ones, that very same age issue that comes up. You just aren't really sure whether or not you deserve to be here. It's a weird feeling, and yet it's also extremely empowering. It also feels a little bit like having a midlife crisis. It also feels like an inventory check. What sorts of things are in my life? What am I doing with my life? Do I have my values correct? What have I been spending my time doing? And the truth is, for me, I've been spending the last 10 years of my life working. And pretty much that's it. When my writing career took off, all I did was write. It was the first winning horse I'd ever written. And it was exciting because, oh my gosh, people actually want to read what I have to say. A publishing company wants to publish my books. Oh my God, I could not believe it. I'm a kid who grew up the survivor of a parent suicide. We were busted broke. I quit school when I was in middle school, and I took a job when I was 14 hanging drywall. Never went back to school until I was a grown man, and I went to community college and got my remedial high school education, my equivalency, and then I went to get my college degree. And I just never had any confidence, never thought that anybody would care about, certainly not my writing, because I am the antithesis of academia. And yet people were interested, and publishers were interested in magazines and all this stuff. And I was so unaware of this that I just poured myself into my work. And I've gotten a lot of wonderful rewards mentally and spiritually out of it. I feel so alive. I feel that I've found my calling, and all that's wonderful. But I also lost a huge piece of myself in the last 10 years through overwork, through blatant workaholism. And I am making it my point this year and refine who the heck I am and what I am outside of my job. It's so easy, I know, for a man to identify himself with his job and not who he is inside and who he was made to be in his soul. And it's not just men, it's everybody in this technological age where we exist without an off button. People don't turn their phones off. They leave their laptops on for years and years and years, and they do the same thing to themselves. And I am guilty of this, and you might be too. We don't turn it off. We just keep going. Anyway, that was a long sermonette. But that is what I've been dealing with on my 42nd year. And I'm also trying to figure out how not to be that way. So without further ado, I'm going to read you something I wrote on the day of my birthday, reminiscing. My birthday lands exactly 4 days after Christmas. And this means that, traditionally, I usually receive holiday gifts from family members who smile sweetly as I open presents, saying, "Now just to be clear, this is for Christmas and your birthday." Anybody with a near Christmas time birthday knows what I'm talking about. And it's hard being born during Christmas time and also not being Jesus. But over the years, I've gotten used to having a post-Christmas birthday. In fact, once you get into it, it's kind of nice having your big day while the whole world is between hangovers. But this birthday, it was a particularly big one for me. Because as of yesterday, I am now older than my dad was when he died. I don't know what it is about kids who lose parents young, but something happens to your childhood brain. The age at which your parent dies becomes the age you never expect to reach. It's as though someone moves the goalposts inward on you. Over the years, I've talked with people who lost parents as children, and they all sort of feel the same way. Many of them are surprised when that age happens to them. It's something they almost didn't believe would come. Well, my dad died when he was 41 years old, and 41 was that age for me. Last year, on my birthday, I kept marveling at the fact that I was actually still alive. I stayed up late that night just to be sure. And now that I'm even older than my father was, it is very weird. You see, when someone dies, their image is forever cemented in your mind at that precise moment of their death. And so, in my head, my father is a perpetual 41-year-old. He's a middle-aged guy, just like me, who doesn't know jack squat about life. He's got an innocent face. He's walking around inside my brain, still living that regular life, still changing the oil every 3,000 miles, still shouting at the radio at the importance of relief pitching. He's still a guy. He's still out there, walking around. And whenever I think of him, I realize that I never even knew anything else about my father other than his dadness. I never knew him as a man knows another man, because he rarely showed his non-dad side to me. He was careful not to drink too much beer when he was around me, but I know he drank, and I know he drank too much sometimes. He tried to watch his language in my presence, which was laughable. I never knew about the elaborate pranks he pulled on his friends. I never knew about the fist fights on the job sites. I never knew about his views of politics. I never knew anything about him except that he was my dad. And I never knew about the adult problems he faced. I never knew what he actually wanted out of life. And moreover, I never knew what kind of guy he was. What kind of guy was he outside the house, on a guy-to-guy level? What was my father like as a person? What would I have thought about him if he was just another guy? Was he nice? Was he someone I'd want to be friends with? Or was he neurotic? Was he annoying? Was he Mr. Popular? Was he Mr. Unpopular? Was he smart? Was he funny? I don't know. Because inside my brain, he's still just Daddy. In my mind, he's still a middle-aged man, riding high in a white diesel Ford. And his approval still means everything to me. But what did he get out of life? What were his ambitions, his goals, his aims? Did he find himself? Did he want to find himself? Did he feel lonely like I do? Did he feel scared like I do sometimes? Did he feel like he got it wrong? Did he feel defeated? The answer is I'll never know. His voice is forever a low tenor, and his hair is eternally red and curly. His legs are eternally long, and his eyes perpetually squint when he smiles. And I cannot forget these traits, because I see them every time I look in a mirror. And on my birthday, I suppose, looking in the mirror and seeing Daddy looking back at me is perhaps the greatest gift I possess. Well, thanks for listening to Sean of the South. I've been your host today, Sean Dietrich, and it has been a true privilege. To find out anything more about what I do, you can visit SeanDietrich.com, or for those who are not particularly good spellers, you can visit SeanOfTheSouth.com, and there you can find out all sorts of information that you didn't know you didn't need to know about me. And while you're there, I hope you take the time to drop me a line. Tell me what's important to you. Tell me what's going on in your life. I'd like to hear it. And in case anyone hadn't told you today already, I love you. Now go say that to somebody else. Have a great day.